Hello guys, welcome back to The Crew 2. The closed beta is about to end in a couple of hours. I'm not exactly sure, I thought it was June the 4th, that I do know, and I think it was 10 AM or something, but is that Paris time or UK time or whatever, I don't know. So I'm assuming we are going into the final hours of the game, and yeah, I think it's about time we do, in episode number 10, a bit of a verdict video, a bit of an opinion video, not only from myself but also with information that I gathered from the community. Talking about the community, we have a large group of community obviously, but you can more or less divide those into three groups. You have the fun group, you have the cruiser group, and you have the competitive group. And the importance of that is that you have, it's more or less a bit of different groups, but they have also a few common issues and common subjects which they care about. And that is sort of what we're going to talk about. Let's start with the fun group. What is the fun group? Those are people who do not care with challenger or competition or cruisers or whatever. They just want to have fun. Do stupid, tough, idiotic challenges, whatever they can come up with, drift around, just hang about with friends and do tremendous stupid things to have a lot of fun. That is more or less the fun group. And I don't know how much they represent. I'm assuming 30-35%. I think all of the three groups are more or less representing about 30-35% of the community. The fun group, they're going to have a field day with this game, because yeah, they have boats to play around with, they have planes to play around with, they have all kind of cars and bikes and all kind of stuff to do, and they can play around in the water and in the air and on the ground, and it's all happen, it's all over the place. Of course, they more than likely will also have some issues here or there, so let's say they are about 80-85% happy with what they have seen here in the last weekend. So that is a pretty positive group at this moment in time. Then we come to the second group in this game, and those are the cruisers. The cruisers have a few more issues with the game, and I think we can speak about happiness being 50-60%, something like that. Because yeah, there are a few things missing for them. If we go back to the map, and I'm gonna take a car. How does a cruiser work? Well, it's pretty simple. They just hang out with friends, they create groups, and they come up with a relaxing drive around the virtual USA that we have on this map. A 2000 square map, a big map, next to Fuel, probably the biggest map in any game. Which also brings me to a personal issue. They trying to convince me that this is a new map, and that might be possible that they have rebuilt it from scratch, but to me this is not a new map. This is a graphically overhauled map where they have changed certain roads into water roads, where they have changed certain lakes into circuit tracks, and where they have changed certain roads into motocross events and stuff like that. But other than that, this is the Crew 1 map. It is the same location, it is the same cities, it is the same towns. Here or there you might find a small new town or something like that. While I was saying that, I was getting rammed. We'll come to that later. But it is more or less the same map. So, cruisers, group number 2, what do they care about? They sort of play like this. Whether it not, if it's possible, they put off the speedometer, they put off the minimap, they put off the complete HUD, and they sort of play like this. Cockpit view, most of them have a wheel, manual gears, they are in a group, and they cruise around on the map. And that's all fine, and they drive around. Problem number 1 they have, rear view mirrors. Already in the live stream that Ubisoft done for this closed beta, they came up with some donkey ass explanation about 20-30% needed from the servers, from the game engine, if they would make these rear view mirrors work, because of the reflections that were needed, and it would go costing of the general graphics in the game. And that's sort of the reason why we have these blurry rear view mirrors. And that is all fine if you can go with that, but I don't really go with that. It's one of the reasons that the cruising community has with it. In any other game which involves cars, more or less the rear view mirrors, especially if you look at the competition like Forza and Need for Speed, in many of those games the rear view mirrors work without a problem. But okay, rear view mirrors you might be able to live with, but non-working headlights is a different issue. And that goes not only for the cruisers but also competitive players. If they are driving around doing a time attack at 400 kilometers an hour in a hypercar or in a Formula 1 car, they want to see where they're going. They try to hide the fact that these headlights are not working by lightening up these cities as crazy. Some of these cities look like a Christmas tree with all the lights and the neons, but that doesn't change the fact that the headlights are not working. They are working if you look at it from the outside, it's more of a visual aspect, but if you look inside, you drive like this in cockpit view, you drive in a dark area, you do not see anything from them. Also there in the woods out there, in the Black Hills or on the Black Mount or wherever, you will find street lights, and they sort of light up the street every 50 or 100 meters, and that is all fine, and there you can see where you're going, but in between those lights you can't see where you're going. Especially at high speed it is a bit of a problem. GPS is another problem the cruisers have, because yeah, they drive without a HUD. They don't have a mini-map to look at. Here we have another one of those. They don't have a mini-map to look at because they don't have the HUD on. So they want some sort of GPS line in the air so that they know if they set a waypoint that they more or less have a guidance to where to go to. And that also again goes for the competitive players. They also want GPS. If you're doing a hypercar race, I can assure you that was locked at this moment. That was locked in this moment in time because the game was content locked to level 1. But once you have hypercars, those are like long races. Some of them are 15 minutes, others even an hour. So you're doing a race at 400 kilometers an hour. You're supposed to look at that small minimap there on the right bottom of my screen. And on that small minimap is also a small blue line. If you're in a city somewhere, it's very hard to see that. So you're kind of peeking on a minimap at the same time you're hitting trees and you're hitting other cars. It is a bit of a problem. And if you combine all that, of course they have a big map to drive around, so they're happy with that, the cruisers. But all of these little features, not working rear view mirrors, not working headlights, no odometer, also the rendering or the draw distance of the thing is also not ideal at times. If you play around in a plane, you have to be very close to a tree before the tree actually shows up. Or if you fly over the highway, you will actually have to be pretty low over the highway before you actually see the cars appear. Also the draw distance is a bit of a problem for them. It is not a big of a problem that meanwhile I found out that, for instance, that one of the cruisers, or that one of the guys that was representing the cruiser team, had pre-ordered the game and he has cancelled his pre-order. So I think some of these things are so important that it might be a bit underestimated by Ubisoft and Ivory Tower, but there are people out there who only for those reasons are not buying the game. That sort of covers the cruisers, which is group 2. As I said, they are happy but not that happy yet. Then we come to the competitive players, including myself. Well, I think it's pretty fair to say that at this moment in time we're not very much happy. 20-30% at best of happiness is the best we can make out of this, because there is nothing here for us. They have a certain amount of events that we can go through. We can challenge those leaderboards by doing some personal time attacks, maybe even in a crew. But yeah, it is what it is, eh? And that is, you can challenge those leaderboards, you can finish the campaign in quite a short amount of time, especially if you're a hardcore player. You can be assured it can be done within a week or so. and probably even faster. And then you go through that campaign, and then you are the Motor Nation champion or whatever, and you have covered all of these motorsports. And then you are there, and what is there to do? Well, you would suggest a multiplayer lobby and go race each other. I haven't seen it on the map, so I'm more than likely it will also not be there. It will probably come, but when, that's another question. If we want to go specifically into PvP, the only thing that is communicated so far about that is that they will communicate something about it during the next week, so we will see. Of course, as being part of certain events, I know exactly what is going to happen, and I know exactly how and when and what, but due to NDA I cannot mention it. So the only thing I can say is take a look on that next week. So that is sort of where we are at this moment in time. After playing a weekend of closed beta, we have a fun community which are pretty much happy. We have a cruising community, they are half-half happy, and we have a competitive community, we are not that happy at all. Now in general, the PvP is, of course, it's something, a multiplayer lobby should always be there, because it is one of those issues or one of those subjects that actually covers the three groups of the community. Because although people want to have fun in the fun group and they want to cruise around relaxing, or they want to do like some sort of time attacks in the competitive group, at one point or another they all gonna meet in some sort of multiplayer lobby, but because there are points in time when they just want to race each other. It's like the hardcore feature of any open world game. Now then they're probably gonna come up with some sort of explanation like, yeah, but you can arrive around with your friends, and yeah, that is all fine. If you open the menu and you click on the roster, then you have, like in my case, I have 41 friends out of my Uplay friends that apparently are in this beta playing. 6 are online. You have some people in your session. You might click on those people and try to invite them into your crew. But yeah, you all know how that goes from the crew 1. It's like, look for a crew, you invite random people, the people are just going to ignore you. That's how it goes. Nevertheless, half the time you're going to lose the session anyway, so it is because that is another problem that they have here, is that they upgraded and polished the game engine, but we're still dealing with the same, the crew 1 engine, and that's gonna, I'm assuming it's going to cause some problems here and there. I don't expect so much with the crewing up in the system, because that goes way better and way faster than in the crew 1, and as far as I know, I've tested it a couple of times playing around with some friends in a group or in a crew. It works pretty good. But let's assume for a second that you are a new player. You are completely new to Ubisoft games on itself, and you want to play around with other friends. There is nowhere on the map is some sort of multiplayer lobby. Hopefully it will be there, but at this moment in time I don't see it, at least not in this beta. So how on earth are you going to meet other people? One of the best ways to do that is to go to a multiplayer lobby. But there you are, you're a new player, you're new to Uplay, you don't have any friends. Which also means that out of this my friends list, you will not find anybody if you're new to this game. So you can also not invite anybody into your crew and drive around with into your crew, unless you have start inviting these random people out of this column here and invite people into the session. But more than not, they are not going to accept your offer, and so you're there by yourself. As a new player, it seems to me you're gonna have quite a long time, a lonely time in the beginning of the game. Yeah, so there's of course the other option, is that you drive around. But yeah, we are 2018. In 2016, in the Forza game, you could already meet about 12 other people in free roam. In 2010, in Need for Speed World, you could meet 14 people in free roam, and you could group up with 8 people. Need for Speed World, yeah, it was a bit of a buggy and game eventually killed by hackers, but the fact is, they had these opportunities. Seeing we are still dealing with this 2012 game engine, we are still dealing with the same problems. 8 people in a session, peer-to-peer connection, and 4 people in a crew. I find that for a 2000 square mile map, I find that a pretty low number, if you can only see 8 people. If we open the chat box, let's have a look. Another one of those things, we are 2018, people most of the time use TeamSpeak, Discord, Skype, some sort of voice chat to talk with their friends. So we do have a chat box. It says session and friend and system. It's all based on friends and a crew box that is apparently disappeared. You also you have to click on this thing here to open up, and then you can actually see the people in your friends or session list. In this case, I have it on the session list. You can also put it on friends. And then you have like somebody like here, let's see, about 10 minutes ago he said hi all. Nobody is responding to him for the simple reason that nobody has this chat box open. We're 2018, nobody's using the chat box. And then you have these people showing up like these guys earlier here. They're standing next to you, they're blowing their horn, they ram you, which is one of the most annoying features in the game, is other people ramming you. The crew community does not like rammers, so let us all hope that they don't come up with these stupid events where people need to ram each other or something like that, because yeah, you never know. So what mostly happens is you press F3 like 2 times or whatever, and the chat box disappears into some small envelope in the top left of your screen, and you still will get some messages if somebody says something, but half the time you're busy watching that little mini-map and the GPS thing, so you don't even see the things appearing on the left top of your screen. So if you're a new player, you're probably gonna have a bit of a hard time to crew up with people, unless you are lucky to find a few random people who actually accept your look for crew in sessions, stuff like that. Other than that, it is what it is. Now we go to the map. The map itself, yeah, like I said, they can say 100 times that this is a new map, and of course we have, like here in Miami, we have a house. If you look on the Crew 1 map, you will not see that house. I don't even think we have that road here. That is something that they put in there extra. But other than that, Miami is Miami. We have the harbor here, we have the airport area, we have the Venetian Islands, we have South Beach, North Beach. They don't need to tell me that this is a new map, because it's exactly the same. And then you might cover it up by calling this the Miami racetrack, while it is just called otherwise in the Crew 1. And the same goes for the other tracks. There are, of course, some new tracks as well, which you immediately can see on this white map. No, you can't. I don't know whose idea it was to put a white map like this. The Crew 1 map was way more interesting. As a matter of fact, this map, I don't even use it. I never use it. You have these events on your map and you have your headquarters. Yeah, that is all fine, but you don't need that. If you open your menu, you have activities. You find the 4 families there. It's not a problem, so you can go to all of, for instance, if I go to off-road, I can go to all of the events for the different disciplines, although some of them are locked in this beta. You can go directly to a skill test, and you can get photos of whatever you want. If you want to go to your headquarters to buy a new car, that's pretty simple. You open your catalog, let's have a look. I want a Chevrolet. What is available in Chevrolet? You look around and you say, okay, here it tells you this is a drift car, this is yellow, and it immediately gives you the option to go to the HQ. So if you click on that, up, there we go, and we wake up somewhere in Los Angeles in the HQ on the drift. There we are. It's as simple as that. You don't need a map for anything. If you want to sort of have a similar map like we have here now, this is sort of like, this would be a great map, and the only problem with that is that, yeah, it's zoomed in so much that if you zoom out, you're gonna go back to that white map. So you have to zoom in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times or whatever before it actually changes, sort of more or less in the view that we have. Like if you look like this, I mean, you barely see that track. So you have to zoom in here, zoom in more and some more, and then eventually you see, oh, that looks to be some sort of track, and then you zoom in a bit more, and then you actually see the name. Oh, it's the Golden Hills racetrack. And then if you zoom in some more, then you actually see the track as you're supposed to see it on a map. But no, we have a white map. Talking about the map, in the Crew 1 we had all kind of stuff happening on that map. We had a filter called Exploration. They are telling me in the live stream before this beta that they want us to explore this map, and that is all fine, although as a long-term player I know this map inside out, I don't need to explore anything, but okay, fine, you want me to explore, give me something to explore. Where are the data stations? Where are the car wrecks? Where are the landmarks that I can visit? Where are all the kind of awards like we had in the Crew 1 where we could drive around and actually needed to find certain stuff on that map? So in other words, explore to find those things on the map. Where are all of those things? They are not here. We are 4 years later, we have a sequel of a game, and we had these features familiar with them in the first game, and now they are not here. So where are all of those things? I just wonder, which is also another reason cruisers are going to back out of this, because that's one of the things they do. They want to visit one landmark after another, and they come together in a group, and then they click on a landmark and they say, okay, let's visit that landmark today, and they cruise there from wherever they are. That might be a landmark somewhere in the northeast on the Niagara Falls, and they might be here somewhere in the south. Well, that is the kind of road trip that those guys do. They do 100, 150 miles with their friends, and that is what they are happy with. For competitive players, yeah, we have a bunch of events. Now, of course, in this beta, it's content locked, which means we have 2-3 events at best. I think there are 3 street races in most of the headquarters, but of course there will be more. I think there are about 150 or so events available once you have everything unlocked and all of the disciplines, and then of course you need to grind a little bit, go through the campaign, get some cars in each of these disciplines to be able to challenge the champions in each of the headquarters and so on. So you will be busy for quite a while. But at one point or another you are going to be Motor Nation Championship. And then you are, what to do? Then you can go back to those events and try to upgrade your cars and attack those leaderboards in some sort of solo time attacks. And then you can compare to your friends and you can compare to the whole world. And so in a way that is a bit of a competition. That's where the 20-30% happiness for the competitive players comes from, because there are those leaderboards that they can challenge, and they need to upgrade all sort of cars. They need to test all the cars to see which is the best, to get the best out of it, or bike or plane or boat, whatever. But other than that, longevity of this game, I am very, very sorry, but I do not see it. Not as we have seen it here in the closed beta, and probably also will see it at launch. Obviously there will be upgrades, and there will be free updates, and there will be probably also DLCs at one point or another, and that is all fine. I don't have a problem with that. Something like the summit in the Crew 1 became available after Wild Run was released. That was 1 year, and then they brought in the competition. So I'm expecting, if they come up with some sort of competition, which would be a bit harder to determine here with all the boats and the planes, and they need to get that all in. So it's going to be a different sort of competition than the summit, more than likely. That is, that's kind of logic with all the new vehicles about. So will there be something like for that? Probably, but then more than likely, just like the Wild Run for the Crew 1, they will come up with some sort of DLC after a year or something. Competition DLC, whatever it's going to be called. I don't know. I hope so, at least. Because as a competitive player, I can go through this campaign, I can attack the leaderboards, and then I'm about done with it. And then they want to explore a map, which is pretty hard to explore as a long-term player. I don't know. I have been talking to several people over the weekend, and I think one of the cruisers, and that was also the guy who had pre-ordered the game, but he cancelled his pre-order, and he sort of, well, he put it like this. He says, to me, the Crew 2 feels more like an expansion for the Crew 1 than it actually is a new game. And as a long-term player, I can pretty much understand him. Because for new players, people who want to have fun, brilliant game. For long-term players who know this game inside out, they are missing features that were in the Crew 1 that were good stuff, and they didn't transfer those things, or they will bring them later, but they should have been here by now. And other than that, yeah, exploration, that's all fine, but we know this map. So yeah, that is a bit debatable, I guess. Should they have changed the location or not? Maybe not. Seeing we have planes and all that, we can fly all over the place. But I think at one point or another, and probably sooner than later, we need also for the long-term players some sort of max expansion. Whether it is taking a plane to Europe or to Mexico or to Canada or to Hawaii or wherever, it doesn't matter. But you also need to give the long-term players something new. And you might think that this map is new, but it is not how it looks to us. To us, this looks like the Crew 1 map, which is graphically overhauled. And on that note, it was a pretty critical video, but yeah, it is just what is going on at this moment. Fun group within the community, they're gonna have a field day with this game. The cruisers are not so happy and the competitive players are not happy at all. That is the situation after a weekend of closed beta. I will see you guys in the next one, and bye for now.